Example 12 says, if 3 red, 4 white, and 5 blue balls are placed in a box, and one is randomly selected from the box, what are the odds against the ball being blue? Okay, so the first thing I need to realize is I'm doing odds against. So I'm going to write it as A colon B, where A and B are numbers. And because it's against, I want losses first, and I want wins second. Okay? So a loss, in this case, means it's not a blue ball. Well, let's look at the balls. There's 3 red, 4 white, and 5 blue, so that's a total of 12 balls, it seems to me. If 5 of the balls are blue, that means 7 of the balls are not blue. So there's 7 balls that are not blue, that would be a loss, and then there are 5 balls that are blue. Notice 7 and 5 have nothing in common, so I'm not able to simplify those at all. So what did they want? They wanted odds against. That would be 7 to 5. Again, quite simply, if they said odds in favor, you would do 5 to 7. But because it was odds against, you have to do losses first, wins second. Again, I want to wrap this all around to you to probability. Probability and odds are very, very, very connected. So this would be 7 losses, and this would be 5 wins. If I had 7 losses and 5 wins, I would have 7 plus 5, which is 12 total. So if I then said, what is the probability of losing? The probability of losing would be how many times you lost, which was 7, over the total number of times, which was 12. If I said, what's the probability of winning? Well, then you would look at how many times you won, which was 5, out of the total number of times, which would be 12. So if I give you the odds, add those two numbers together, those give you the total number of times, and then you can easily find the probability. Add the two numbers together gives you the total, and then easily find the probability by thinking about what you want over the total number of times. So knowing that, let's look at the next one right here. It says in 2010, the racehorse Drosselmeyer won the Belmont Stakes, beating the favorite Icebox. The odds against Drosselmeyer winning of the race were 12 to 1. So this is odds against. Because it's odds against, we know that it's losses to wins. So if we look at this, we have 12 losses to 1 win. 12 losses to 1 win. Notice the total of these, if I do 12 plus 1, that's 13. That's the total number. Add them together to get the total number. Now it says, what is the probability of winning? So the probability of winning is always going to be the number of wins over the total. Well, let's just go look in here. The number of wins was 1, and the total was 13. So the probability of winning is 1/13. Notice this one asks for a probability, so we do have to write it as a fraction. Let's read the next example. The next example says, a report issued by Southern California Earthquake Data Center estimates the probability of an earthquake at a magnitude 6.7 or greater within 30 years in San Francisco Bay Area is about 60%. What are the odds in favor of such an earthquake occurring in the region in the next 30 years? Well, if the probability of an earthquake is 60%, remember that 60% is 60 over 100, or we could simplify that as 3/5 would be the simplified version. This would be, the top number is when you have an earthquake, and the bottom number would be the total. Okay, that's the simplified version, but essentially what that's saying is there's a 3 out of 5, 3 earthquakes out of every 5 is what you have to see that as, okay? So what did this want? It says it wants the odds in favor of an earthquake. So what would we be looking at if we're doing odds? It would be earthquake to no earthquake. Again, that's because odds are in favor, so what you want has to be first, what you don't want has to be second. So how many earthquakes were there? There were 3 of the 5 were earthquakes. How many were not earthquakes? Again, if the total was 5 minus the 3 would leave me with 2. So what are the odds in favor of having a 6.7 or greater magnitude earthquake in the next 30 years, the odds in favor would be 3 to 2. Again, if they said what are the odds against, it would be 2 to 3, but this was in favor, so the answer is 3 to 2.